All right, let's start with this. Give me a mic check. 1 2 1 2.
Check. 1 2 1 2.
Sound good? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, welcome to the To Dad From Dad podcast, a show where we meet with fathers and grandfathers, talk about what worked and what didn't, what mattered more than you thought it did, and what didn't matter as much as you thought it did, what you'd go back and tell a younger version of yourself if you could. Today's guest is a very dear friend of mine that I've shared some pretty incredible life experiences with, is Mr. Jimmy. Jimmy, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Can I just say that I love the premise of your podcast?
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I got to be honest with you. Recording these, I always deal with quite a bit of self-doubt when I'm done because I want this to be good. I want this to be valuable, and just kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't in real time. So for those of you guys that are listening, I appreciate you sticking in there. I promise I'm trying to get better every time. Hosting these things is, just mind melting. So yeah,
Get that.
Yeah. All right. So I always like to start with a little context. So I wanted to give some context about our relationship. So Jimmy, you and I, the folks listening are probably tired of hearing this, but we met in a young marrieds class here in Tyler.
Yeah,
It's
man.
the first time we met. It was that class at the Grace Church, University Boulevard campus that Scott Pierce and Fred Pate, who've been on the show, kind of fostered and guided for 15, 20 years. Yeah. You and your wife, Ashley, have become, I would say, lifelong friends to Whitney and I. I think we'll be friends till the day we die. Whitney and Ashley, your wife and my wife, have a very, very deep, meaningful friendship. It's, I think Ashley is the person that Whitney misses the most from not living in Tyler anymore. Yeah. And you guys were the ones that we tended to spend the holidays with when we were here. We tended to come over and put our kids to sleep in your guest bedroom and stay up playing board games or cutting up or just doing whatever we were doing. So, the other thing that I wanted to just throw out there that you and I did together is Texas water safari.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I haven't talked about this at all, but you and me and Drew started training and started doing the Texas Water Safari together. And for those of you that don't know, Texas Water Safari is a 262, 63, 64 mile canoe race.
Yeah.
You start in San Marcos, Texas, and it goes all the way to the Gulf of Mexico and Seadrift, Texas.
That's right, brother.
And you and I have spent a lot of time together in a boat.
That's right.
Paddling.
Yeah.
And, before we started recording, Jimmy and I have here's how you know you've reached a healthy stage of friendship. When you spend we've spent hundreds of hours together in a canoe.
That's right.
And when we were doing the race, you're sleep deprived. You don't start. You don't stop from the time you start, right? You've got 100 hours to finish, and you got to row 265 miles, give or take.
That's right.
And there was this one part where you and I were in the boat, and we're going through rapids because there's rapids on the river,
That's
and we're 100 miles in or 60 miles in or whatever, and we start going into this really brutal rapid, right? And I'm at the back of the boat, you're at the front of the boat, and both of us are pretty strong-willed guys.
Yeah.
And I'm yelling at you because I'm convinced that I know what we should be doing.
That's right.
And you're yelling at me because from your perspective, you know what we should be doing.
That's right.
And essentially, we traversed 50 or 75 yards through this rapid. We probably did a 360 2 or 3 times.
That's right.
And the boat was completely out of control. And I mean, we were yelling at each other, mad at each other.
That's right.
And we actually ended up coming out the other side of the rapid backwards.
Yep.
But we didn't tump the boat over.
That's right.
And I distinctly remember this kind of brief calm when when we came out of the rapids, and I remember it was kind of like we had this moment where it was like, "Hey, um, I'm sorry, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe that worked out. Um,
Yeah.
I still love you. You know."
Yeah. 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 And I still love you too. And I think, yeah, that was probably one of the craziest parts of that whole deal. That plus, there at the end when we had the monsoon,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're hanging on,
Yeah.
right before we're fixing to go into the bay. I think that is kind of a dad thing though to do. Is it when you think that you know the direction that you need to go, but you have wise counsel that's telling you a little bit different. Man, sometimes we need to allow others to take the lead, or we need to both try to wrangle it well together and keep going in the same direction.
Yeah.
But at the end, it's real true friendship.
Yeah.
You're like, man, yeah, I shouldn't have yelled. We're on the same team. Like, I love you.
Yeah.
Let's move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun. I'm likely never ever going to do anything like that ever again.
Yeah.
I might be eating my words later. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we did it.
Me too.
Me
too. It's good.
I've, just real quick, I've tried to canoe with Whitney a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something. You want to test your marriage?
Oh yeah.
You get in a canoe with your wife.
Yeah, it's almost like back in a trailer with your wife.
Gosh, dude. Yes, it is. Yes. Like, turn to left. Which left? Your left, my left. It's just constant yelling and
yeah.
Whitney and I've tried that a couple times. Didn't work out very well. But oddly enough, though, Ashley and
I know. I was fixing to say that. Yeah. What did y'all did the marathon, right?
The marathon. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I was after that. I was thinking, oh man, they're probably gonna try to do the safari.
I'll tell you, Ashley could do it.
Really?
Ashley could do it. Yeah.
Man, you talk about strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all are wired pretty similarly from a tenacity standpoint. Like, you put your mind to committing, like, to do something.
Yeah.
Come hell or high water, you guys are going to get it done.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Now, I love Ashley, but nowhere near the horsepower in terms of rowing capacity that you had.
Yeah.
And I remember when we did the marathon, I was thinking to myself, okay, like, I need some strength from the front of the boat, Ashley.
That's right.
Like,
you got to dig in.
Oh, come on. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And there's a specific way to dig in too.
Yeah.
Like you got to, it's not all brute force either.
Yeah.
Like there's finesse.
Yeah.
Finesse
absolutely.
that happens through that too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, let's back up. I want you to set the stage for us a little bit. So we already talked about Ashley, but tell us about your wife Ashley. Tell us about your two kids, and how old are you? Those types of things.
Sure. Yeah. Can't quite believe it, but I'm 41 years old. Ashley just turned 40 this year, and man, we are happily married. I love Ashley more and more every single day. When I don't even think that I could love her anymore, man, she shows up and just, portrays that love, that kind of love that you want to feel, that you do feel from Christ, that even in submission, to me as a leader or whatever, she loves me. So yeah, we have two kids. Oaken is 8, my son, and Celia's 9, my daughter. And so we live here in Tyler, and man, we're just doing life.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, I want to talk. We're kind of going to jump back and forth here real quick, because one of the things I wanted to make sure we talk about before we start is, I don't know if it's going to come before or after this episode, but we've got David on the show. Yeah. David, you and David are business partners.
Yeah.
You guys run cider builders.
That's right.
Here in town. And I bring this up not because I've always tried to give the context of what the folks on the show kind of do for a living because I think it helps. But specifically about this, if you could just, David gave us the story of kind of the establishment,
Sure.
but your journey was kind of similar because
Mm-hmm.
you came from a blue collar profession, like a technical trade,
Mm-hmm.
an electrician,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, you and David, after several years of kind of pursuing the same thing, came together, kind of joint venture some things before ultimately starting Cider.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so we got all of that. But I would love to hear you talk about something that has always just blown me away is yours and David's commitment to two things: your faith
Mm-hmm.
in the business, but also if you could maybe parlay that into. I'd like for you to talk about the core values of Cider.
Yeah. Yeah. So, our core values kind of really were born out of, why do we do this? Why do we do this thing that we do? And the blending of faith and work, is kind of a movement that's going on these days. It's always been there, always been kind of underlying. But how you do what we call kingdom work every single day has been more of an individual, like an individual pursuit in the workplace. But we're kind of making that a corporate pursuit of how we live out the kingdom, how we expand the kingdom by building homes and doing development work within our community. So we have three core values. One is serve first, and we serve first because Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, served us first. And so that's number one, obviously for a reason. It's to put Jesus first in our lives and in our business, and really it's a test against just about everything that we do. So all of our core values are kind of litmus tests.
Yeah.
And then there's build intentionally, and I would venture to say that because we're small scale production home builder and developer, so we will acquire raw land. We'll do all the entitlements. We'll do all the development. We'll build the homes, and then we'll sell the home. So it's one pack. It's like a package, kind of deal. And so from the very beginning, you have to have an extreme level of intentionality. And so building intentionally, you have to set up, really, really specific parameters. And man, if you're doing it for the King, man, the details matter.
Yeah.
And so that's the building intentionally piece is that while we serve first, because Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, served us first, we build intentionally because for us, there's no other way, in doing kingdom work. We're pursuing not perfection, because there's nothing that's perfect this side of glory, and that's a fact. But man, we're pursuing a level of excellence for the kingdom. And then we impact community. And so the impact community one has been one that, as far as like a reach, and like an all encompassing, not inwardly focused or really even a charge, that we can kind of gauge things against. It's been an outward focus. And so, impacting community, especially like as a developer, you're going into somewhere that, either was all trees or just dirt, and then you're trying to make really, really nice things to provide homes for people. But sometimes that can be seen as negatively impacting community.
Yep.
And man, what we found as a direct result of like even those relationships with neighbors is, and I'll tell you a story. We have a neighbor at our current development right now that me and him and his wife, man, I was a villain in their lives. And man, me, that's not my heart at all. But one thing that I can do really, really well is continue to show up and continue to prove that I am who I say that I am. And so, man, there's been restoration in that. Praise God, there's been restoration in that relationship. Not only that, but like, Sonny and Sharon, my son and I have gone over there. I mean, Sonny's played with Oaken, and like they've even came to a football game of Oaken's, too. And so taking those relationships and impacting, doing kingdom impact type work, impacting community. I mean, and there's many, many more stories like that too. And it's not just me. I mean, it's David. It's the rest of our team have kingdom stories. And it's not that it's born again, not out of those core values, but because that's always something that we can go back to.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that, man. Yeah. I think that Tyler population, I don't know, maybe 120,000 people these days, give or take a little bit. Maybe growing.
Yeah,
growing a lot.
Definitely growing. Yeah.
But to be an owner operator, if you will, you guys own the company, but to really put down roots here. And I've seen you guys do this, and I've seen you guys toil over whether it's zoning issues or whether it's what types of homes do we build in what areas of Tyler and the communities that we're placing our developments. And,
That's right. Yeah.
And I've heard you talk, and you and I have talked about, what impact is this going to have on the property values of the neighbors? And is this going to be, this is probably not the right use of the term, but is this going to be gentrifying, right?
Yeah.
Like, is this going to be a positive impact to the area around us?
Yeah.
Right. And just to know that you guys are so really thoughtful and committed to, obviously you have a business to run, but committed to the community in that way that you genuinely talk about those things and consider them.
Yeah. We consider, we lose sleep.
Yeah.
Over those, we obsess over those kinds of things. And I think that's something that does make us different is the approachability, we're willing to give people our phone numbers and we're not gonna avoid you at the grocery store,
right?
We're gonna say hello, and we're gonna continue to show up, hopefully the way Christ continues to show up, and that's with love and peace and grace and kindness and all those things, even if we're not liked, we're going to continue to try to live out that kingdom work for sure.
Well, and this is your home. This is your community. These are your people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of unique too, because there's a lot of large production home builders, and there's a lot of large production home builders that make good homes and do good work. Sure. But I think the you guys aren't like a boutique home builder, but from a scale standpoint, it's a local home builder.
That's right.
Yeah.
Trying our absolute best to create value for people in what we provide. There's a there's a Hebrew term. It's called avodah, and in the Hebrew and in the Greek too. There are multiple words for love. But avodah is actually a combination of work, worship, and service all together, all in one word.
Yeah.
And if there was a specific term, a known term that actually combines those things, obviously, and it's in the inerrant Word of God, obviously it matters to God. So our work, our worship, and our service, that avodah posture of our hearts.
Yeah.
Is something that I'm really encouraged about, because again, I do believe that there is a resurgence, there is a revival of faith in the workplace, and it's got such a great impact, such a great kingdom impact on people. Because where else do you find seekers, non-seekers, and believers going and doing work together, all in the same place? And so us as believers, we have a duty, we have a responsibility to live out the gospel, and to do work differently within our communities, live out that avodah heart posture. So.
Good. All right, let's go kind of back to the family side. one of the things that would like for you to talk about is, and I'm very familiar with it, but you and Ashley's how do you say this? Fertility or infertility?
Infertility. Yeah.
Journey. Which there, man, you talk about it as much as you will. I know that there's some, for the lack of better term, some pretty gruesome elements to that.
Sure.
But then also the crescendo there is the adoption, right? And we didn't specifically say that earlier, but
That's right. Teasing it out.
Yeah, teasing it out. Yeah, Oaken and Celia are both adopted.
That's right.
They're biracial.
They are,
right. But beautiful kids, by the way.
Yeah, I couldn't have produced.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. Yeah,
such beautiful children.
But seriously, just gorgeous children.
Yeah.
So just share with us kind of the infertility journey and then the adoption piece.
Yeah. As I get further and further away from that, I do want your people to know that, man, if you're going through a level of infertility, whatever it is, man, just know that you're not alone. I want you to know that there are people that are praying for you. There are people that notice and know, and might not even be saying anything. But man, you do not have to go through that kind of thing alone. You don't have to feel like you got to white knuckle your way through trying to get pregnant, or you don't, and you don't have to, just sit there and wallow in something that's the desire of your heart because you're in the waiting room of life. Man, there are people around you that love you, that want to walk through that with you. And the reality is, man, we found that. We actually did both sides of that. Like we did a portion of it on our own, and then we did a portion of the better portion was in community. So that, as far as encouragement, man, I just want to encourage anybody that's listening that man, if you're going through infertility, don't do it alone.
Yeah.
So to just kind of get started. So us, like any other red-blooded Americans, me as the leader of our home, I wanted to make sure that we were financially ready to have children, and so we waited until we felt like, okay, this is the time, and this is what we should start doing. And so we actually immediately got pregnant, and I remember standing in the shower, like I'm sure like most men that hear that information for the first time. And you're like thinking, okay, here we go. Like, this is what comes next.
Yeah.
Like, this is a moment that I'm going to remember, and this is what's coming next. And here comes this little baby boy or girl. And obviously my life is going to change, and I'm ready to embrace it. And I was surprised, but I was ready to embrace it. And so what ended up happening right after that is we ended up having a series of ectopic pregnancies. And so if you don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is, it's typically the egg implants into the uterus, but before that it flows through the fallopian tubes, and we would end up getting pregnant within the fallopian tubes. And so we had one tubal sparing surgery where they would cut it open, and then of course try to save the tube, and then we got pregnant again, and it ended up happening again. We tried IVF as well through the process because Ashley ended up having both of her fallopian tubes removed. One of them was scheduled. The second one was actually an emergency surgery. And you had Fred on here, and you also had David on here as well. And both of them were there, through the emergency surgeries and through that. And y'all were there with us as well. And so, being in your mid-30s, having your wife in the hospital, bleeding internally and feeling a lack of hope, man, this is not the way life is supposed to work out. And so we ended up, after that, of course, we did the IVF stuff, and we ended up being pregnant. We were pregnant at one time with triplets.
I remember that.
And you talk about,
Yeah.
okay, so like the first time I'm standing in the shower, and I'm thinking like, okay, this is all right, I can do this. But then you hear, hey, there's three of them. There's three of them in there, and you're like, I think I'm gonna have to hire somebody like to come in and help us with triplets, all being born at the same time. And we heard their heartbeats. As far as like the pregnancy process, that's really as far as we got. And just Ashley wasn't able to carry really any further than that. And that's really a God thing. I think for her specifically, like she would tell the story as after we kind of got over the grieving of losing the triplets and stuff, and we were fixing to get ready for the next round of IVF, and like she feels like that she audibly heard the Lord say, just stop.
Yeah.
Like I have something that is just, it's way better than what you're trying to force, to happen. And then next thing you know, like there are these drugs that you have to take. And like one of the primary drugs just wasn't available anymore. For that period of time, like there was a gap in the availability of it. And of course we missed our window, cause it all has to be timed out too. And she was like, this is it,
Yeah.
And through all that, I'd felt Ashley, say, I just want to be pregnant, and I was like, and I wanted to support that. I wanted to support her through that. And, but as I was seeing, what we were going through, and as I was kind of thinking like, there's gotta be something that's really better than this. We had, I started kind of laying the foundation and talking with her about adoption, and I didn't have to be sold on adoption. It was something that was like, again, for me, it was like, okay, well, if this doesn't work, then this is the next, this is the next logical step. But little did I know, like the amount of joy and really, just how my life changed, through adopting, Celia and Oaken.
Yeah.
It's just, it's been an amazing journey that, that I wouldn't change, for anything.
Yeah.
So, in all, we lost 13 kids, through the process. And even there are times that my 8-year-old Oaken, like he'll even ask, about his brothers and sisters in heaven, and stuff like that. And so most of the time I can handle that really well. And I'm like, man, yeah, they're up there, and I can't wait. I can't wait for you to meet him, and I can't wait to see him either. That kind of thing. So, anyways, like, just amazing stuff through, and just how the Lord, just makes beauty out of ashes. How Scripture kind of just comes alive in your life.
Yeah. Hey, when you reflect back on that phase of life where you guys are struggling through that, I would call it maybe a battle, as you guys were battling through that. What do you feel like that revealed the most, to you about yourself during that time?
Like looking back, like as now being on the kind of the other side of it, and kind of reflecting back on it, I didn't recognize like how lost that I was, because as I grew up, I kind of grew up to kind of have it all together and to be a extremely independent thinker and I'm pretty type A, pretty determined. I have the tendency to I'll study things and then see patterns and then execute and all of that stuff. But like I didn't recognize really how lost that I was. And really, you know, I grew up, I'm just a regular Central Texas, East Texas boy, you know, having faith, and going to church and doing the things. But when you get in the valley, man, you kind of recognize, man, I, I'm, I have a level of loss that I feel like I might need to start kind of working on and working through.
Yeah.
And the Lord is so gracious and kind.
Yeah.
So like through that, he's revealing to me, my desperate need for him.
Yeah.
Because as an independent, as being raised to be independent, you're almost conditioned to, to figure it out,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and not be reliant on really anybody. But yeah, that was something that really was produced,
Yeah.
as a direct result of that was a level of submission,
Yeah.
and recognize, probably the work that I have in front of me the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when you think about that same time
Mm.
and you think about Ashley,
Mm.
right? Um, what did that battle that you guys kind of fought through together, what did that reveal to you about her or y'all's relationship?
Mm-hmm. Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Ashley's a strong woman. She is an amazing person. She has probably the biggest heart that I know. She feels what other people feel. She loves deeply. Um, what in regards to Ashley specifically, like I I didn't and this is just foolishness. I didn't understand or know how much she loved me.
Mm,
Dude, that woman loves me.
yeah.
Like more than I feel like that I can love myself sometimes, because like that's kind of what pride is self-preservation, and it's really easy for us to care and be selfish, love ourselves to an extent, but Ashley loves like nobody that,
Yeah.
that I've ever come into contact with. And so what was revealed to me was man, that and as I get older, I come to know and understand more and more what the love of the Father looks like,
Yeah.
and how He created marriage, and how marriage is just a picture of sacrificial love in the gospel.
Yeah.
And so I'm just blown away by just Ashley's love,
Yeah.
and how well that she loves me, and how well that she desires me. And I'm not saying that things are perfect. We are humans. We are sinful. That sin's still part of our beings, but it's no longer the most important part of our beings as a believer.
Yeah.
And so, but Ashley just naturally exudes that kind of fearless, abandoned, abandon everything just for the sake of, man, I'm going to love this guy and I'm going to love my kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm just in awe of it, because I'm beginning to understand it more and more and more because of how she loves me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's come up a couple times, and I'm kind of connecting something here as you're talking about that, which is the when we talk about we've said this before, but like the mirror of fatherhood,
Mm.
and the mirror that having children puts in front of you, that you can look into the mirror and reflect on what it must be like for God the Father, right? To you experience this love for your children that we honestly probably only feel, maybe, I don't know if this is right, but we probably only feel a fraction of what God feels for us, but it's a taste, it's a glimpse of that, right? And I think there's truth to that in marriage as well. The reflection of marriage, because men specifically, our instruction is we are to love our wives the way that Christ loved the church.
That's right.
Right. And so I think that's kind of an interesting thing to think through, is looking at faith, looking at Christianity, looking at being a believer through the mirror of marriage, but then also the mirror that fatherhood brings as well through your kids. What's funny about Ashley, she'll listen to this. I want to say something to Ashley. Here's what's funny. We haven't talked about the Enneagram at all on this, but here's what I know about Ashley. She's a 2.
Yeah.
She's a helper.
She is.
Right. Yeah. And she has a servant's heart. She's a giver, but here's what I love about her. She will also cut you.
She will. Yeah. Yeah. She can be fierce.
Like, she'll take a lot. She can take a lot of abuse. She's very resilient, but you don't mess with her people. Like, here's what I mean. If my kids went somewhere with Ashley and somebody or some, external influence was happening to my kids, Ashley would literally fight somebody for my kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right.
She would.
And
she cares.
I love that about her.
Yeah. She counts, like, as when the kids were growing up, and we would all go somewhere. All of us would go somewhere. She would, and I watch her do this. Like, she's not, and like if we're weaving in a crowd or something like that, she's not just counting. There's Oak and there's Celia. Yeah. She's saying 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Constantly.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So, and I think that's just an outpouring of who she is and her love.
Yeah.
For people. And I'm in my flesh, I'm just the opposite. I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Which I'm tempering that a lot more these days, as I get older. But yeah, it was always amazing how she was able and willing to add to her tribe quickly.
Right.
And then fight dearly.
Yeah. Yeah. You bring up something. This is maybe a parenting hack, but we try not to like do parenting hacks, but this is funny because it works. Dads, when there's a big group of kids together, counting the kids. When you talk about the world we live in today, keeping your head on a swivel, Ashley kind of ingrained that in us. And we still do that with friends that we have in San Antonio now.
Wow.
Like if we're out in a group, it's kind of like, how many kids we got today? 7 kids. And I'm telling you, every 10 or 15 minutes, we're counting heads.
Yeah.
And so, hey, count your kids. Like, make sure everybody's accounted for.
That's right.
Just count them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There they are. Okay, we're good.
Yep.
That's it. Man. Ashley started that, and we've just kept doing it. And I guess I've never really connected the dots, but that started with Ashley.
Yeah.
So that's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's shift gears just a little bit. Tell us about your relationship with your dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my dad, my mom and dad had me when he was 41 and my mom was 38, I believe. And this was in the 80s, and so it was a little higher risk, pregnancy, to be in your late 30s and that kind of thing. So, they were older, and I was actually the product of a second marriage for both of them. So they had seen life, and so I'm not saying they were tired by any means, but they were deep into their career, and so I was taught business principles as a kid, I was taught to be financially literate as a kid. I was taught what work looked like, as a kid, more than like tying a knot
Yeah.
or learning to fish
Yeah.
or throwing a ball or really anything like that. I'm not saying that I miss those things, because I mean these days Oaken knows Oaken's a better ball player than I am. He's more athletic than I am, um, but he never gives me grief about it. I know I'm taking this kind of on the side on a side note, but like because I can't throw a ball extremely well, Oaken is always encouraging to me.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was kind of that was something that I should know, but I just didn't really as a kid. So tying it back, really to my dad is that we talked a lot, but there wasn't always a ton of emotion,
Yeah.
and I think we go through this life and then we have kids and all this stuff, and there are things that we bring from our childhood and we say, yep, gonna do that one. And then there are others that we say, man, I'm gonna do that a little bit differently, and so one thing that I brought from my childhood that I am wanting to instill in my kids is a high level of independence. I do believe that if you're gonna raise Jesus loving, and kids that add to society, man, number one, man, they got to know the gospel. They got to know Jesus. Jesus is the foundation for all of it. So everything else will flow out of that. But just from a practical standpoint, they need to be able to be independent. Think independently, work independently, and not be a victim.
Yeah.
Not be a victim in relationships, not treat other people like victims or have victims, but man, find solutions and that kind of thing. And so that's one thing. That's one really good positive thing that my dad brought into my life. Now, again, they worked a ton, and then when they were home, it was a little bit more in regards to responsibilities, and so we worked a lot. We worked a lot together, side by side, and again, I got the value of work, but didn't get a ton of emotion, and not a ton of love yous, or hugs or anything like that, and so, man, I do know that raising young kids these days, man, I'm going to teach them to be independent, but man, they're going to know that I love them fiercely.
Yeah.
They're gonna see me fail, but they're gonna see me apologize and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
They're gonna see things in me, hopefully, that I didn't really see
Yeah.
in my dad. Now I know that my dad loved me, and he still does. He's still around. He's in his 80s, now, and but the emotional part is something that was just kind of missing. Um, and so that's kind of interesting. So I mean, I'll even translate it to like our relationship now. Like we can even have a disagreement, like me and my dad, and then at the end of it, we can be like, well, love you, Dad,
Yeah.
and so, um, I think it's a healthy relationship. But man, there's always things that we wish that we could have done, or wish that our dads, kind of did for us. And for me, it was probably just, man, show me a little emotion. Let
Yeah.
let me know where you are on these things.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have really benefited to know more about like my dad's faults, fears, and failures.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I heard and felt the emotion that came as a direct result of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so yeah.
It's good. All right. I want to talk about your faith a little bit.
Mm.
And I know that there's a specific event that you have in mind, but I just wanted to ask, like, can you tell us about that turning point for you
Yeah.
in your walk with the Lord, and
Yeah.
what was it? Because I know it's a pretty cool story.
Oh man, yeah. So God's in the redemption business. God's in the making beautiful things out of ashes business, and man, we are constantly being sanctified. Like, there's the Holy Spirit is constantly revealing more and more things to us that we need to chip away, right? And so, man, for me, one of the big things was control. And so, as I was growing up and being independent and saying this is the next logical step, and then you get thrown a curveball of, you know, losing babies and then emergency surgeries, like Ashley's bleeding internally, and like it could have gotten really, really bad, and all this stuff. I recognized that I began to realize that how much control that I did not have, that I was really fooling myself that I thought that I did. And so, us, like, any good Central Texas and East Texas boy and girl, getting married and doing the thing, we thought we needed to go to church, and actually became a believer at a young age. And I would say I thought that I was a believer. I actually truly was. Just like she loves, she has a love for Jesus, as well, that just pours out of her. And I thought, yeah, I do that thing too, and me and God are good, and all this stuff. But man, my testimony, my life was truly changed, when we adopted my daughter Celia. So, first time that I saw Celia was when we went into the hospital room, and Ashley was doing skin to skin with Celia. And I was like, oh man, like, I'm going to remember this the rest of my life. Like, I'm breathing this in, and I'm just in awe of what's going on. But that was just the start of it. So, after that, we do what's called like a placement, like a ceremony kind of thing. And Living Alternatives is the agency that we went through. Great organization. And so we went out to their maternity home, called Fatherhood, and I remember, like, right before this placement ceremony thing, like, we're outside, and Celia's birth mom are inside, and I'm standing outside this door, and it's like, I even remember the color of the door. And then I walk through the door, and all these people are in there, and Celia's in there, and Celia's birth mom's in there, and at that moment, I could not deny that Jesus was the Lord of my life, and that all of this had come together, and the Lord had been calling me for years and years and years, and now I could truly, like, physically see what sacrificial love looked like.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing thing that I have ever experienced in my life. And I've told Celia that, I said, Celia, you saved my life, so I gave my life to Jesus at that adoption ceremony. And when I thought that I'd already done this, but my life was truly changed, at that moment. I was a new creation at that moment. I was 30, 31, 32. And then at 33, I had the privilege of my brother David baptizing me, and y'all were there, and so, yeah, I came to be a believer a little later in life, but man, yeah, that's my testimony. That's my story, and man, Lord is still working on me in that sanctification process. But man, I feel like my life started there.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm an adoption fan. For sure. So
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. All right. So let's talk about where you are today. This is a loaded question. This can be a difficult one to answer, but what do you feel like you're struggling with in fatherhood today?
Mm.
We really wrestling with, or what do you, maybe a stronger way to say it? What are you failing? What are you failing at today?
Mm.
What are you doing what are you working on?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think the Lord is working in my heart in regards to control, my control of the way that I think that like continuing, like it seems to be a theme in my life, but um, that I don't need to be in complete 100% control. That I can abide in His love and His grace because He's never failed me. That I can seek Him first, and I have everything that I need. And while I know those things, within 15 or 20 minutes, I'm back at trying to control it.
Yeah.
I do know something that I'm seeking, and that is quality time. So being a business owner, being a dad of 8 and 9 year old that are active and in school, and then having a wife that loves me fiercely, and all of those things. There's a ton of things that bide for my time, and it seems like there's always a fire to put out, and even in kingdom work, there's always a kingdom conversation, like good righteous things to talk about, you know, and people to pour into, and my family to pour into. But I think probably in addition to trying not to control everything, something that I struggle with is like good intentional quality time, you know, and because it feels like that life kind of moves way too fast.
Yeah.
And I've said this now for a couple of years, and it's been a big part of my prayer life is, Lord, give me a holy pace. Lord, give me the kind of pace that I read about that Jesus had, where he was always on mission. He was always going. He was always doing, but he was never hurried.
Yeah.
And so, if you're a control guy, if you don't feel like you have any time, man, pray that prayer. Lord, give me a holy pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Allow me to see people.
Yeah.
The way you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that, and then because my kids are 8 and 9. Well, from what I understand, and I believe that I'm living that out now, there are golden years in parenting, and it's between like 7 and 12 or so, 12 to 13. And it's where you can have a good, articulate conversation with your kids. But you're but you're still cool, at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like I am right there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to eat up every moment of it that I can. That mixed with my kids are changing and maturing, and like sometimes I try the old tactics that used to work, and man, they don't work anymore.
Yeah.
And so for a control guy, again, like it worked yesterday, but doesn't work today. So I got some more studying to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Mm. Tell me, what's something that you used to think mattered a lot, but as you've gotten older and as your kids have gotten older, you've realized didn't matter as much as you thought it did?
Hmm. Hmm. I'd probably struggle with that one.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a everything matters,
Yeah.
Kind of guy.
Yeah.
Um, I do know that, like, because you can't control, like toddlers,
Yeah.
in like throwing fits or doing
Yeah.
any of that kind of stuff. Your your perceived control of your good kids you know, in the mall or at dinner, out to dinner somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, you know, nobody's really got it together.
Yeah.
And so I actually spent a lot of my formative years, um, really before I became a believer, and um, as I was growing up, you know, making sure that everything on the surface like looked and felt the way that it was supposed to, you know, but then underneath it was, you know, like my pursuit of myself and pursuit of like what I wanted to do, and a lot of times that produced things that like I would hurt, you know, like that would damage my body, like you know, like smoking cigarettes or dipping snuff or you know doing things like that we really shouldn't be doing. Um, but it was all kind of because I was trying to put on a front and I was trying to control, you know, the outward perception of who I was and what I was doing, how I was acting, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so these days, I'm probably more comfortable with myself than I ever have been.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think the recognition that it's okay to make a mistake, because I am more perfectionistic. You're talking about Enneagram again. I'm a reformer, so that's that number one, that perfectionist. Um, so yeah, I don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
Maybe that's probably the best answer that I can come up with. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. You know, you hit on one that I think is a good message to dads out there, especially dads who have kids that are 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. Man, I used to be just on edge when we would go out in public
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like anytime my kids would squeal or scream or cry, yeah, specifically like at restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
I would just be like, we got to get out of here. Like, we got to do something about the baby. We got to, you know, get it, get her to stop crying right now. Cause, either that or we're going to have to leave, you
Yeah.
know? And, to the point where it was just very irrational.
Yeah.
And, so here's the message to younger dads is the people around you care way less than you think they do. Right.
Mm.
Um, Now, the kid that is just crying, screaming out of control in the restaurant, yeah, take that kid outside.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear that, But when your 1-year-old starts sitting in a high chair and spills queso on the floor,
Yeah.
or salsa, or throws chips on the floor,
Yeah.
that's kids.
Yeah.
It's everybody's kids,
Yeah.
right? And your urge is to be respectful.
That's right.
Your urge is to be, we're here as guests. We want to be respectful of the environment. We want to be respectful to the other patrons. We want to not leave this huge mess. And I think it's a very good place to be.
Yeah.
But you just have to give yourself in that situation. It is a phase of life.
Yeah.
And kids are messy. Kids are going to squeal. They're going to be a little too loud, and you're going to have to say, hey, use your inside voice, right?
Yep.
But
redirect. Yeah.
Don't overreact. I overreacted way too much in those scenarios because I felt like the entire room was looking at us.
Yeah.
I felt like we were putting people out,
Yeah.
And dude, looking back on it, our kids were unbelievably well behaved.
I was fixing to touch on that.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure people could see it on your face.
Yeah.
And I know, because I don't have a good poker face. I know they could see it on my face.
Yeah.
And I got more grace from complete strangers when my kids were that age,
right,
than really any other time.
Yeah.
Like, your kids are so well behaved.
Yeah.
Like, you have such a beautiful family. And it was because they saw the struggle.
Yeah.
And they wanted to give us grace, and they wanted to be encouraging.
Yeah.
I think I just took myself too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's probably another thing that I struggle with is taking myself too seriously, and I'm trying not to do that as much anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I do believe that raising kids, you that just about has to come out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if you're wound too tight, like I am, or
Yeah.
like I have been, raising kids really allowed me a little bit of freedom where man, I can just relax, you know, a little bit. So
yeah. Yeah. And it still drives me crazy when we go to restaurants and people's kids are, just running around and just kind of out of control or just incessantly loud. And so, within reason, but, it's just kind of like, it's a season, we have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old now, and we don't have those problems go away with age, that your kids age out of that.
Yeah.
And just understand, man, it's just part of it. Everybody that's ever had kids, within reason is going to look over at what you're dealing with, and they're probably going to say to themselves, oh Lord, I'm glad that's not me. They're not going to say, God dang, I wish somebody would get that kid to shut the heck up. That's probably not what they're thinking. I didn't know that then.
Yeah.
But I know that now.
Yeah.
And I wish I could kind of go back and tell myself, like, hey, just chill out. This is part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and there is, there's another aspect of it too. And that is that the chaos, the perceived chaos that you even experience now, and that I even experience now, and we're gonna miss it.
Yeah.
When it's not around.
Yeah.
I tell my kids, well, when I turned 18, I moved out of my mom and dad's house, and it was time. It was definitely time for me to move. And I went into an apartment and went to college. Did the college thing and all of that stuff. But I tell my kids, Oaken, Celia, when you're 18, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you got to go. But the reality is that man, I know when it gets here, and it's coming quicker. That's probably another piece of advice. It's coming quicker than we think.
Yeah.
But when it gets here, I'm probably going to be the one that's going to struggle the most.
Yeah.
Because I'm really actually putting on a front.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to miss the sounds in the house and all that stuff. But man, I'm like, Ashley and I are gonna live it up, too at that same time. So our life will change. We'll miss it. But anyways.
Yeah. 2 more questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. The other one is just the inverse of what we just talked about, which is what is something that early on you didn't think mattered very much, but in retrospect mattered way more? Maybe a simpler way to think about that would be like, what do you wish that you had done more of earlier on?
Yeah.
That you see more, that you see the value in now, that you wish you could go back and tell yourself, hey, do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think probably one of the biggest pieces of that is, I wish I would have been a better student of my spouse. I wish I'd have been a better student of, like, early on of my kids, rather than again trying to think, all right, here's the next logical step. This is the next developmental step, or this is just a phase, all of those things. I wish I would have been a better student earlier on. And so, yeah, I am more observant these days than I ever have been. I've always cared, but I never was really a great student of Ashley, or really of my kids in their stages of growing up. And so, man, I would highly recommend being a student of your spouse. And being a student of your kids, and just study in awe of how they were made and how they are different and how they're like you and all of those things. I think something else that I wish that I would have done more, and I'm trying to work on that here now, is just being. And what I mean by that is um, quality time with Celia is like if she's reading a book on the couch, if I go grab a book and I sit down beside her, and I read a book beside her, that just being was is she feels the most loved as a direct result of that. For Ashley, and I wish I knew that earlier.
Yeah.
I wish I knew that the quality time aspect meant so much to her, because I've always given her like really, really good words of affirmation and kind of the same thing over and over and over again. But man, she really just wants my time.
Yeah.
For Ashley, if I can hold on a little bit tighter for a little bit longer,
Yeah.
that's what she needs from me.
Yeah.
Hugs,
Yeah.
kisses.
Yeah.
I'm so ready to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know she'll be there when I get back, or whatever. But she wants to hold on tighter and for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So, man, I wish I would have known that, and I wish I would have done more.
Yeah.
Wish I would have done more of that earlier in our marriage, rather than my focus and drive for work or for business or what I perceived to be what was important.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'd have prioritized her.
Yeah.
A little bit better.
This is super random, but you just kind of made me think of something I hadn't said before or really thought much about, which is as I've gotten older, I get up early. I go to bed early, but I've noticed that there's one thing that makes me not want to get out of bed more than anything. Normally I get up at like 4. I think the alarm goes off at 4:10. This morning I woke up with no alarm at 4:00 on the dot and went to the gym. And in the mornings when I wake up that early, it's not a big deal for me to like get out of bed, go to the gym, start my day. By the time I get home, Whitney's already awake. She's getting ready. But on Saturday or Sunday or Saturday afternoons, when Whitney and I are laying there on the couch or in bed on Saturday mornings, there is nothing that makes me want to stay in bed more than just being there cuddled up with my wife.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about time, but I feel like that's grown significantly stronger over the years.
Yeah. I resonate with that 100%.
I don't know why. I don't know why that is. I've really never thought about that much, but when I was younger, earlier in our marriage, I didn't have as hard of a time, being cuddled up and being like, all right, well, time to get up and go, and boom, get up and go. But the older I get, the harder it is to.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100%, same here. And I think our desire as young men to get up and go kill it, that's pretty strong, within us. I know for me, and I'll even pervert it, right? Like I'll even say, well, I got to get up and go for you.
Yeah.
But that's not what she doesn't need me to get up and go do that.
Yeah.
Thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
She just wants me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's tough. That's tough as as a newly married, man to really grasp is, or at least it was for me, because like it was not that I had conquered getting married. But I was on a quest. I was set out. I was straight trajectory towards, growing of a business and 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 doing the righteous things, so much so that I perverted that into, well, I'm doing it for you, don't you understand, kind of thing, and when that's not at all what was needed.
Yeah.
So.
I want you to think back to 17, 18-year-old Jimmy, where you are today.
Mm-hmm.
If you had an opportunity to go back and sit down and have a 10-minute conversation with him, 5-minute conversation with him, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
what's the biggest thing that you'd want to tell him?
I'd want to tell the 17-year-old Jimmy that Jesus loves him, that he knows him, that Jesus has been pursuing him even before he was born, that he calls him his. And I would want him to feel what the love of the Father feels like.
Yeah.
Because the 17-year-old Jimmy was just full of himself.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change any of it for anything. But man, I wasted so many years not knowing the creator of the universe that knows every single hair on my head. Well, the ones that are gone now, but yeah, I would, and I'm not sure, I don't know if he would have listened.
Yeah.
But man, that's one thing that I'm going to make sure of is that my kids know the love of Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And man, I know that they're going to do more things for the kingdom than I can even imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely want 17-year-old Jimmy to know what the love of the Father looks like and feels like.
Yeah.
Because that's been the biggest, most impactful part of my life.
Yeah.
Is my imperfect love for the perfect Creator God through Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, man, that's probably.
It's good, man.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Just kind of reflecting on our friendship, and I'm just reminded, I know that we've joked about this before, but it's funny. Before we got here yesterday, I don't know that you and I had talked in like months. Well, we had talked a little bit about in preparation for doing this.
Yeah.
This is probably a flaw of mine, but the guys that I end up kind of staying friends with the longest, I can think of a handful. Robbie, Philip, Drew, you. I'm reminded of Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation when he talks about his best friend.
Yeah. We still never talk sometimes.
We still never talk sometimes. The best friend I ever had, we still never talk sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't check in as often as I should, but I also don't think you need that from me. And I maybe you do. Maybe Drew does. Maybe Philip does. Maybe Robbie does. But man, I'm so blessed that the Lord has put you in my life, and that I honestly feel like we can not talk for 6 months and we get in the same room together, and it's like we pick up right where we left off.
Yeah.
There's no love lost.
That's right.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Love you, brother.
Yeah. Love you too, man. Well, hey, let me just kind of sign off here. If you're still listening, thanks for sticking in till the end. This is the last episode we're recording here in Tyler, and I don't know what episode this is going to come out in the order, but hey, the biggest thing you can do for us, if you're listening and you're not following or subscribed, or if you haven't liked the playlist or the podcast or whatever, whatever platform you're on, some interesting little facts here. About 50% of our listeners are Apple Podcasts, about 30% are Spotify, and about 20% are YouTube, 10% are YouTube. Hey, the episodes are growing week over week, which means that people are sharing them. But legitimately, I don't need your money, don't need anything from you other than share this so that we can just help other dads who are committed to being better, that want to love their families deeper, that want to just pursue being the best versions of themselves they can. And so share this with somebody. That'd be the most meaningful thing you could do for me. Having said that, we'll wrap up. Jimmy, thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Yeah, man.
All right. We'll talk later.
Yeah.